Well, hello there, listeners. If you don't know, I'm a Carnotaurus, a dinosaur that lived in the Cretaceous period 71 million years ago. I bet all of you wanted to see a dinosaur alive and well. Well, here I am, alive and well. Of course, this isn't a dinosaur. It's a puppet I got from Disney's Animal Kingdom. Sorry, old friend. This is where we say goodbye. But the skits, the planning, the sleepless nights, you can't just throw it all away. Watch me. But going back to what the puppet said, I bet most of you, whether you want to admit it or not, have wanted to see a dinosaur up close and alive. For me, seeing their mighty skeletons and the replicas we built of them in museums captured my imagination, and I dreamed so desperately to see one up close with my own two eyes. Sadly, as I found out when my preschool teacher told me they were extinct one day in class, the closest we'll ever get to them are the bones across museums around the world. The thing is, though, we don't need dinosaurs in their prehistoric biomes to fill us with a sense of enjoyment and wonder, because there are already so many amazing animals and environments that have been doing that for generations of people. The sad truth is, the natural world isn't as wonderful as it once was. This is due to one simple reason. People don't appreciate what they have until it's gone. It's why nobody cares about endangered animals such as the vaquita, whose total population is a whopping 10 individuals. Because they're not all dead. You can still possibly see one. It's not listed as extinct. And you'll soon find out that it's not just animals people don't appreciate. Entire environments, entire landscapes, people don't appreciate until they are almost or completely gone. So with that being said, let's go back in time and visit some of the poor animals and the environments they lived in that people simply didn't appreciate until they were gone. Human beings first appeared in this rock millions of years ago, and even back then we made quite an impact. We were something never seen before, an animal that was and still is weaker compared to every single other animal, except for when it comes to our brains. Using our intelligence, we were able to make tools that could take down the most mighty of beasts. And using our effective way of communicating with one another, we were unstoppable during the hunt. Just take a look at one of our most iconic victims of our intelligence, the woolly mammoth. Now, yes, it is debated whether or not climate change or human hunting ended off killing the last of the mammoths at the end of the Ice Age. But, seeing as how one mammoth could feed 30 people for 2 weeks, in my opinion, suggests the latter happened. But now let's look at some animals that went extinct a little bit more recently. The Eurasian Cow sounds like an animal straight out of the mythology, and that's because it is, with it being the animal Zeus took the form of when creating Europe in Greek mythology. These animals, which are very similar to bulls and other modern-day European cattle, once found throughout Asia and Europe. In fact, they were found all the way from Portugal to the Koreas. So, how did such an impressive animal go extinct? One word: humankind. And we didn't hunt them because we needed to. Seemingly, it's because it was fun. From the Romans using them as fighters in their colosseums, to Polish hunters who would hunt down and kill the last Arach in 1627 for the simple reason that, well, its body parts looked cool on their walls. And it's not like these animals were useless anyway, because like their fellow European giants, the European bison, they affected the environment in a positive way through their grazing and trampling. Them doing these actions in areas such as Europe's forests helped clear the way for seeds to grow in otherwise overcrowded spaces of vegetation, thus increasing biodiversity in the region. They also added another protection for animals such as deer, who would be protected from their predators such as wolves and Arach herds. Now moving on to Steller sea cow. This animal was once found in the Bering Strait, a sea named after a Danish captain sent by a Russian Tsar to explore Alaska. Yeah, I always wondered what Bering meant too. Never heard of Steller sea cow? Well, I don't blame you, because they went extinct only 30 years after Europeans first discovered them. And this was back in 1768. Now, still a sea cow was a big one. I'm talking 30 feet in length, double the size of the largest manatee ever recorded. Want to guess why we hunted them? No, it was not for their meat. It was for sport. Notice the pattern here?
Yeah.
But if you thought the sea was where this tale ends, no, because the sky's the limit. The passenger pigeon, a bird whose numbers were once in the billions, whose flocks could cover the sky for 6 days on end while in flight, also got hunted to extinction. Yes, an animal whose population was around 5 billion when Europeans first arrived to the Americas, went out with a whimper when the last one died in an American zoo in 1914. Let that sink in. Environments. We didn't stop at making a few critters and end up 6 feet under, because why not let the trees join them too? Human beings are like a lot of animals in this world. We alter the natural world around us. Though, unlike most animals, we tend to have a more destructive method of altering the world around us, especially when it comes to expanding our agricultural, residential, or industrial infrastructure. Let's take a look at an especially tragic example, the forests of Ireland. Ireland was once 80% forest, and these forests weren't empty. Wolves, bears, boar, red deer, and other European wildlife called this place home underneath a canopy of green leaves. And it wasn't just animals either. People lived in these forests, with the ancient Irish Celts and Gaelic people doing so, with Gaelic even meaning forest people. So what happened? Civilization happened. Thanks to the local Irish themselves, but especially the invading British, the forests of Ireland were chopped away, and with that, the animals that inhabited them. Of course, this story isn't all hopeless. 11% of Ireland's land today is still forest, and not just green fields. Now, moving on to our next victim, and arguably the most iconic American landscape, the Great Plains. Once home to millions of bison that roamed these vast, endless fields that captured the imagination of the American public, the Great Plains are slowly disappearing. Now, it didn't help that removing bison and prairie dogs and other plain animals from most of the Great Plains caused damage to the environment. But it's more so bad farming practices done by the agricultural industry. In fact, only 0.01% of virgin prairie land remains today, with 77% of it being relatively intact. The thing though, this hasn't just affected the people of the plains in the past, but the nation as a whole. One example is back in the 1920s when farmers removed native shrubs to make way for wheat. This caused the soil to not retain its moisture, and long story short, a dust bowl covered most of the Great Plains. Now you might be thinking, Michael, you're wasting our time. I mean, how bad can one dust bowl be? Well, have you ever heard this little thing called the Great Depression? Yeah, that's what a dust bowl can do. So now you know that both losing animals and environments are both tragic for us and nature. But as it is the case with most things in life, there's always hope in the bleakest of situations. Despite humankind's rampage throughout the natural world, there are still bastions of nature left worth protecting. These bastions in question are Kruger National Park in South Africa and Yellowstone National Park here in the US. Now, yes, I could go on and on about why we should be protecting these animals and the environments they live in. I could talk about how wolves help keep elk and other prey from their populations getting too big and from them eating all the vegetation. An issue we here in New Jersey experience with white-tailed deer eating literally everything in our front yards. I could talk about how hyena help keep their environments clean in Africa by eating dead corpses, thus helping stop the spread of disease. In fact, many of Africa's beasties do this, such as the serval, which eats up to 4,000 rodents a year, thus helping to stop the spread of disease. I could talk about so many scientific explanations for why we should be protecting these animals and environments, but I have a more human one. This explanation can best be seen on the Roosevelt Archway in Yellowstone National Park, which reads, for the benefit and enjoyment of the people. I want to focus on the word enjoyment, because quite frankly, that's what these two parks have given me. more so than any modern-day skyscraper or ancient pyramid has ever given me. They've given me the enjoyment of seeing bison lay amongst the shrubs on the plains, or seeing a family of hippos float peacefully on a river, or seeing a mother elephant with her baby following close behind, or seeing the symbol of America rest freely on the side of an edge. And it hasn't just been me that has gotten enjoyment out of these porks. My parents and I still reminisce and laugh about a time a honey badger broke into our hotel and raided it for sugar. True story, by the way. And when we met the most adorable lion named Grumpy, he is really adorable in person, I must say. So now you know that protecting nature isn't just so our species can thrive, but it's so we can protect our enjoyment. It's so people can see real, breathing animals, not just skeletons, to not make it so the only enjoyment we get in this world is deep within a virtual one. To not rob future generations of a world that once looked like this, but because of us, might look like this. So, what can you do? Well, first off, visit these porks. Whether it be spending the night there or even just, going there for the day, it usually requires you paying some kind of ticket. That money will then go to helping manage these porks and others. Also, donate to trustworthy organizations that will help us in this fight, such as Mossy Earth and the World Wildlife Fund. And finally, you can help. Whether it be by researching into these issues more thoroughly on your own time, or even doing simple things like turning off the lights when you don't need them, or building a bee bath in your backyard. Because in the end, only you can protect the benefit and enjoyment of the people. Thank you.